What is up, responsible day traders? Good morning. It's Monday, March 28th, 2022. I'm Lindsay Duff, and this is Responsible Day Trading. So in the spirit of getting things done and ready early, I'm probably going to start doing my videos on Sunday night and just kind of wrapping it up Monday morning. It's much easier and it's just more efficient for me in the mornings. It gives me a little bit more time. Just a few things to touch on. We do have that 25% discount on UProfit Traders, so you can use that code March25 in order to get that discounted price. Don't forget that we have tax time coming up very soon. So if you haven't had a dedicated tax professional to help you out with your taxes, make sure that you're reaching out to www.responsibledaytradingtaxpros.com and that you're getting a tax professional with you to really help you make the right decisions. I mean, are you going to set your business up as an LLC? Are you going to set it up as an S Corp? Are you getting all the tax benefits that you deserve as a day trader whenever you are investing your money? So don't let the government just look at you like a simple investor. You want to be looked at like a day trader because you're going to get all different kinds of tax benefits that you would not get if you were a simple investor. One last thing, if you're new to trading, don't forget that we have a free guide on the website. So you can go and set up some time to speak with one of our members here. You can also download the free guide. The free guide will walk you through a lot of different information about the difference between stocks and E-minis and why E-minis may be the best choice for you. Always, if you've got questions over anything that you see or hear on here, definitely let us know and we'll be happy to help you out. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and get moving on this Monday morning. If you got questions over anything you see here, definitely reach out to us. And as always, enjoy the show. Hello, my friends. I almost forgot that on Sunday nights, I was going to get a head start and start looking at what the market has to tell us. Let's go ahead and just take a look at what the market has. We can see my charts are still opening up in the background, so I guess we'll see what that has to in store for us very shortly. But here we're going to head over to market news and see what we got for next week. Okay, nothing on Monday, Tuesday. We've got two different things at 9 a.m. Central Time, so we want to be aware of that. Just in case, it's 30 minutes after the market opens, so it might cause a little bit of shaking and moving. Wednesday, we have two pre-market items and then one an hour after the market opens. So just keeping that in mind if news is really on your agenda. Thursday, pre-market. Friday, a little bit of pre-market, and then 30 minutes after the market opens. So not a whole lot of craziness. By the time this takes off, then we should have plenty of time without any news in there. So let's go ahead and see what the market has for us. Let me go ahead and I'm just going to spread these open a little bit more so they're easy to see when we do come back to it. But let's go ahead and bring up the daily chart first. Okay. Ooh, I always get excited when I come and look at this. Now, I don't expect this to just keep pushing up. I mean, we are really close to an area that's held several times right into here. And we can see we haven't really pulled away from the EMAs yet. We're getting back above. So my anticipations would be to see this roll down a little bit, come back towards the zero line, kind of center itself just a bit more. When that happens, I anticipate seeing these price pull back, towards this area of the EMA and possibly even overrun it with the fact that we have flat EMAs. Something that kind of would remind me of a pulling back and then giving me just a long reversal bar and then pushing to the upside to continue back up here and start making new highs. That is part of my anticipation. Now, I don't want to get stuck in that mindset. So if this pulls back in, gets back below, what we can anticipate then, and I'll actually use some arrows here and go back to the right one. What I can anticipate then is if it does keep going down, to pull back into the areas of the EMAs, which will have rolled down a little bit more here, and then push down and continue up. So either come down here and then push up past the area, or come down and push down. Now, obviously you hear me saying that I expect it to pull down just by looking at the behavior of the price and the MACDs. They're starting to slow just a little bit, not a whole lot. But like I said, we reached a really extreme area. So it wouldn't be out of character to see this start to pull back a little bit and everything kind of meet in the middle around the zero line and start to pick up the pace again. Now, with all that being said, this could be, and as you can see, I lost all my lines, so I'll have to recreate them later. But we can see right here where this could be a bit of a head and shoulders to push it back down and continue down. It's just a little hard for me to see with that it would continue down with all of this trouble it had to push through the area. These were big, strong bars coming at this, and we continued to make divergences. We had these long bars with the closes towards the upside. So it's really hard to believe that it's going to just push back down. Can it? Shoot. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if we really look at it, we've got a lot more support and resistance areas created by all this previous activity that could give us a lot of areas for a bounce. Coming up to these newer areas or areas we haven't exceeded before actually makes it a little more difficult, because then we have to create new support and resistance areas as that's happening. So let's go ahead and look at the 28,657, which to me is just that next chart. It's kind of that in between when we're looking at the daily chart compared to the 10,946. So it's a little bit of an in between. Now these bars are really small. I apologize. I'll make them a little bit bigger for the next time. But, whoo, man, we pulled up to this area and look at that tiny, tiny, itty, bitty little bar. Look at this tiny little bar at the area with the EMAs or with the MACDs leading a lot lower. So it did tell us that we are in the market for a pullback, which we're seeing, which is all this move that has happened to the downside. Now, a reversal bar or a tiny little bar and divergence in a pullback doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change the entire trend of the market. I mean, we saw tiny little bars here. We saw this pull back down. And what did it do? It pulled back into strong EMAs that pushed it to the upside. So are we going to see these MACDs come back, get back through the EMAs or the Bollinger Bands here? Are we going to see them roll off and push up? With these strong EMAs to the upside, and what I can see on the 10,946 and the 28,657 is this is telling us that we have a fairly strong trend to the upside. We can see every time it's pulled back into these EMAs, it's just pushed it a little bit higher. So we do have divergence at this area. As we can see, we've had many divergences before. What I typically like to see at something like this is just kind of a pullback, push up, maybe even a pullback down towards this next EMA. So just thinking of targets where this may go. Obviously, the first one is the first EMA, and then we have the next EMA, which will still have us at a higher pivot than the last time we pulled all the way back down there. And to me, I'm like, let it pull back in these areas, especially overnight, pull back into these areas so we can see this movement back down and give us lots of room to run to the upside. Okay, so let's look at the charts that we've got currently going on here. We got the 10,946, the 1597, and the 233. Now you can see we haven't had a whole lot of movement. It's 9:15 at night, so I'm about to not take this out and go take me a quick shower and get ready for bed so I could be prepared for all we got tomorrow morning. And I can get this video out to you, which is now going to be today, Monday. But we can see here we have this pullback strong into the area of the EMA. All of this distance between the EMAs and the price told us that we were going to get that snapback. It happened in here, it happened in here, it's happening here, and we are still leading lower in the MACDs. We're getting a lot closer to that higher pivot as the MACDs are pulling up here. But we can't take off the table that we still have strong EMAs in our bigger tick charts to the upside. And even though we're getting that kind of, what I call these, I used to call them a guppy belly, where it's kind of pulling over like this, we still have that higher pivot potential happening here. And the last time we got on the opposite side of the EMAs and the zero line, what happened? We died out at that area, it pushed back up. These are trying to show strength to the downside in the MACDs. I'm just struggling to believe it. If we do, we may see something that pulls down just a little bit more like this. So a stronger move in the price, a weaker move in the MACDs. If the move picks up the strength in the MACDs, then I'll expect it to come all the way back down here or even back down here. But if the movement stays weak, kind of like we saw in here, definitely expect it to snap back up. These EMAs are still open, so it's definitely something that we can see push back into the area. And we're actually trying to see, or the 233 is trying to show a little bit of that now as we pulled down the price and the MACDs, and they were still, leading a little bit higher here, although this reversal bar looks like it's trying to win out to the downside. Either way it goes, we're going to let it play itself out, and we're going to check it out in the morning so we can have a really informed and wonderful day. All right, and we're back after a good night's sleep, and we're kind of in the same place. We have gone up just a little bit higher than we were before. The MACDs are pretty much sitting right at that same space. Now, we do have a while to go before we get to this high, but it looks like we're working on it. Still the same kind of thought process as we talked about earlier, where we're at this area where we could see this slow and roll, but man, we got these closes at the top of the bars. Maybe we just see it fly to the top. So if we look at the 28,657 and we talk about these areas that we drew these circles around, now it didn't come down to that bottom EMA, and we can see that happen. It just pulled back into it. MACDs rolled and moved to the upside. Now we're still going to want to see this MACD come all the way up and exceed this if we're going to really have that oomph behind that continuation. More than anything, now that we're getting past this area here, what we'll probably see is the breakout and the pull back into the area. Now, we talked about what would happen if we got back down here and continued down, but we're really anticipating it just to pull down and push up. It didn't pull back anywhere near as deep as I thought it might be able to, but it did definitely give that bit of a pullback and is now making the attempt to push up. But as I said, we still have some major potential for divergence going on here. As you can see, we've reached and exceeded this previous pivot period, and MACDs are leading way lower. We can even see as we start to look at our current charts, as we're hitting that top Bollinger Band area, it might be an area that we see it push back, although we may see this push just a little bit higher. As we're looking at the smaller tick charts, we still have MACDs blue and outside here on the 1597, which suggests more up. And we still have the MACDs giving some divergence on the 233. You can see each time these pivots have pulled up, they've led a little bit lower, although we didn't actually start to create some sense of divergence till right about this area right here. So now that we've pulled up to another higher pivot, the MACDs are leading inside and trying to roll inside, which is starting to show that it might be slowing down. As we've exceeded this previous pivot period, the MACDs, are they trying to get a little bit lighter? We can see just a little bit of lightness in the MACDs, but really Nothing to say it's going to really slow down except the fact that the MACDs are not strong. You can see the strength between the BBs here. We don't have that same thing going on here, and we're reaching that top Bollinger Band as we're rolling inside on the 233. All signs that we may see this pull back a little bit deeper. Now, we may see it pull back something like this, just a quick pullback down to that bottom Bollinger Band and pop up as we can see the EMAs. We're still trying to attempt to move to the upside here, and we're working to get outside of the Bollinger Band here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and remove these two circles because as things are moving up, we would need to move those up as well because the areas start to become a little bit higher as it pulls back into those EMAs. But currently we're making new highs from the previous pivot period. I do want to come back really quick to the daily chart and just talk a little bit about where intended targets would be if this does continue up. Now we can see right here, we're reaching an area that was pretty significant in giving a bounce prior. We can see that if it does push down here, it'll be a bit of a head and shoulders. But these MACDs really aren't in tune with the idea of that coming down exactly right now. Maybe a bit of a pullback like we talked about last night and push to the upside. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for Monday morning. There's a lot of excitement going on. I love the fact that we pulled down really low, which gave us a lot of room to run back up to the highs that we saw back in December, January area. And so, it'll be fun to see what happens. Just always remember to take our time, pay attention, don't try and force the market, listen to what it has to say. And that is what can really help you to make good decisions in the market and to stay on the right side of things. Know what we're looking for, why we're looking for it, stay in the majority of what we anticipate. And, if things don't work out, we got our risk in a good place so that we can take a small loss and be ready for the next trade. All right, guys, that's going to wrap everything up. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. And as always, you know that I look forward to catching you on the profitable side.